Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Now let's get to your headlines. A live look right now from the Vatican tonight as Catholic Church officials release details about how they will honor Pope Francis after his death Monday morning. The Pope's coffin is set to be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow for the public funeral on Saturday. NBC's Ann Thompson has more from the Vatican.
The next few days here at the Vatican are starting to take shape as Catholics around the world prepare to say goodbye to Pope Francis. Tomorrow morning, his body will be removed from Casa Santa Marta, where it is today, and it will be processed to St. Peter's Basilica, where it will lie in state Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's what we believe at this point. His funeral mass will happen at St. Peter's Square on Saturday morning. And after that Mass, then he will be buried at the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore. That is not here on Vatican grounds. It's elsewhere in Rome, but it is a church that has a very special meaning to Pope Francis. It is where he would go to pray before and after every trip he made, and then most recently when he left the hospital. That's the latest from the Vatican. I'm Ann Thompson. Now back to you.
And we've heard so many stories of people touched by Pope Francis here at home, including former Immaculate Conception principal Jane Bona. She's one of 4 Minnesotans recently recognized by the Pope for her dedication to Catholic education. Raya Katene spoke with her.
At this Columbia Heights Catholic school, faith is at the center of every lesson.
It's how you act with integrity.
Through integrity and her faith is how former Principal Jane Bona led Immaculate Conception School for almost 15 years.
I always felt like it was a vocation for me and not a job.
Leading her to become one of 4 Minnesota educators to be recognized by Pope Francis just weeks ago.
It's such a deep honor.
It's the first time local Catholic educators have been honored in this way since the Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis was founded 175 years ago.
My first reaction is, I'm not worthy. Why me?
It's because of Jane's dedication and exceptional service to the Catholic Church as an educator.
I'm just in awe of it.
That she received this medal and award.
To me, this was such a beautiful recognition of the work that I've done, but it's really more about all of us as Catholic school educators in the work that we're doing.
For months, Jane and millions of others have been praying for Pope Francis as he battled health issues before passing away this morning.
He's been such an inspiration to me. He's talked about that this is a year of hope, and he talks about hope does not disappoint.
Hope and faith continue to guide her as Jane says goodbye to a person who guided her and many others for so long.
How do we make a difference in the world? That's what we're calling. We're being called to do. And Pope Francis was a perfect inspiration for that.
New this afternoon, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison is filing a lawsuit against the Trump administration over its threats to withhold funding from Minnesota for allowing trans youth to participate in sports. Just last week, the administration sued Maine for violating an executive order by letting transgender youth play in girls' and women's sports. Maine officials pushed back on the lawsuit, saying that Title IX does not prevent schools from letting transgender athletes participate. The administration has threatened to sue other states for the same reason. Here's Ellison's response.
Today, Minnesota is suing him and his administration because we will not participate in this shameful bullying. We will not participate for 2 reasons. 1, they're wrong about the law, both federal and state law. 2, we will not let a small group of vulnerable children who are only trying to be healthy and to live their lives be demonized.
Right now, the Minnesota Constitution allows these athletes to participate and bars discrimination due to gender identity, something Ellison says beats a presidential executive order in court. New tonight, details on allegations Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared sensitive military information about U.S. airstrikes in Yemen in another group chat. NBC News has confirmed those messages came to Hegseth from U.S. Central Command on a secure U.S. government system. Then, minutes later, those plans were shared in 2 group chats on the Signal messaging app. One included Hegseth's wife, his brother, an attorney, and some aides. Another included other cabinet-level officials and the editor of The Atlantic magazine. Hegseth remains adamant the information was not classified, and President Trump says Hegseth's doing a great job and everyone is very happy with him. Well, get your Temu and Shein orders in now before the Chinese e-commerce sites raise prices. The companies recently issued notices that they're set to make price adjustments starting April 25th. It's due to President Donald Trump's recent tariffs imposed on goods from China. China is the largest clothing importer to the United States, so these tariffs will most likely raise the costs of most clothing, according to trade policy experts and economists. Kids and teens in St. Paul's Rondo and Frogtown neighborhoods now have a way to get to their school programs at no cost. Ian Russell got an inside look at the Loop van to see how the service works.
As spring turns to summer, the kids of St. Paul are turning out more and more.
As people are starting to focus on what are my kids going to do this summer?
It's already true at the Frogtown Community Center. And something Callie Freeman knows will be more important as the weather gets nicer.
This just makes it a little bit easier to connect to all of those great programs.
Freeman says that's the city's goal, highlighting programs for kids and teens that they might not be able to get to otherwise.
When they have that opportunity, it just might spark something entirely new in their lives.
They could take a bus or the light rail, but that still might drop them off blocks away, which is where this comes in.
Yeah, it's the Loop transportation van. We got the decals coming this week, actually.
St. Paul Parks and Rec Director Andy Rodriguez says the name is pretty apt. This van does one big loop around St. Paul, connecting kids aged 10 to 18 to multiple locations around the city, running after school from 3 to 8.
And provide some sense of safety for parents as well, right? Knowing that they can safely get from location to location and not have to walk a couple blocks.
The Loop connects the Rondo Community Library to the West Minnehaha Rec Center, the Black Youth Healing Arts Center, to the Frogtown Community Center, and multiple other rec centers.
Young people need to get around and access to services and other things. I'm doing a lot of community engagement. We heard a lot about the need for transportation and the need to get people, young people, ages 10 to 18, from safe place to safe place.
Safe places keeping kids out of trouble and out of harm's way. Rodriguez says kids do need their parents' or guardians' permission and need to sign this permission slip to ride. The rides don't cost anything and are part of a grant and partnership between the city's Parks and Rec Department and library system.
Hey, when this grant, lapses, I think we'll have a good case study to show that this is a need, not only in this neighborhood, but across our city, and how can we replicate it citywide.
As summer gets closer, opportunities are out there. Freeman says all they need now is for families to step on board.
I want them to understand that they've got these opportunities wherever they go within these neighborhoods.
In St. Paul, Ian Russell, KARE 11 News.
Rodriguez and Freeman say they'll evaluate the Loop van to see if they need to add more times as we get into summer. All drivers are vetted before they drive, and that grant runs through May of 2027. Well, before you make dinner tonight, you need to check your fridge or freezer. Aldi is recalling these pork carnitas. Officials say the product in question may be contaminated with small metal pieces. The pork from Cargill Meat Solutions was sold at Aldi stores nationwide. So far, there's been no word of any related injuries. Well, right now, it's the calm before the NFL Draft Night Storm in Green Bay, Wisconsin. 250,000 football fans are expected to pack the city for the 3-day draft event. Security officials say that's like preparing for 3 Packer football games back to back to back.
Your public safety partners in this area are phenomenal. They have done an outstanding job. They've been working on this for a year.
There are 2 main things that we look at that make this event very different from a Packer game. One is the potential size of the crowd. The other is just the size of the footprint.
Now, speaking of that footprint, the amount of security preps like concrete barriers and metal detectors spans 70 football fields. The city of Green Bay says it spent more than $1 million of its own money on security measures. Ooh, it's a big day for Minnesota sports fans. The Wolves and Wild are waking up out west ahead of their playoff games tonight. The Wolves are in LA taking on the Lakers again starting at 9, and the Wild hit the ice in Vegas at 10. Well, on our way to break, new video of a classic Earth Day tradition. 144,000 ladybugs released at the Mall of America. Mall officials say the bugs are a natural pesticide, protecting the 30,000 live plants and trees without having to use chemicals. Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.